First of all, about the rule of law situation, we have a project in which we are monitoring the rule of law situation in the European Union institutions, which is, I think, a unique perspective, because the European Union is checking whether the rule of law situation in Hungary is okay or not. As you know, this is more a pressure on Hungary, but we started also having a focus on the EU institutions. And our report, I can recommend. It was very, very interesting, and a deep analysis about the problems and the lacks of rule of law in the EU institutions. And in Hungary, there is a big discussion currently about the transparency of the so-called NGOs, because since the regime change, 1989, we have had a law about a prohibition of international funds for political parties. But in the modern democracy, also NGOs are like parties, and the Hungarian government said that the prohibition of foreign funds should be also introduced for those NGOs which are working like the party.
Recently, there also has been a lot of fear in Europe about Russian influence. So isn't the transparency in Hungary a good thing? Shouldn't Brussels embrace it?
Yeah, we agree. Brussels should support it very much, because transparency is the only thing, or the only way how we can realize whether an opinion, a political action is funded by international actors, or it is a original Hungarian national initiative. And it could be a Russian, a Chinese, an American, or even an Ukrainian interference for the democracy. And therefore we think that just to talk about it is very important, and to have a law which is valid and introduced for these politically active NGOs, as it was introduced for the political parties. It is the only way for the modern democracy to get transparency.
A lot of NGOs say that Hungary does a crackdown on them. But how is transparency? How is their reasoning? How is it a crackdown if it's asking transparency?
You are asking the good questions. We don't know the answer on, because all these NGOs are very, very active. They try to influence the political decision of the voters, and at a level it is acceptable that that NGOs would like to make politics. The big question is that this is a part of the sovereign political community, or it is international influence on the Hungarian voters and on the Hungarian politics. And if they are funded by the Hungarian citizens, we should accept whether we like or not. But if it is financed by international companies, political actors, or even rich people from outside, it is unacceptable, because in that case they are making lobby for them in the Hungarian democracy.
And if they are funded by Brussels?
Brussels is not, in our opinion, Brussels should not give money for media and NGOs. Our European Union vision is a common market, which is strong in some political areas, but the current Brussels financial instruments are helping only to get from Brussels pressure on the member states. And this is unacceptable. This is not the European Union in which the Central European countries entered 20 years ago.
Do you think there's enough transparency on European funding of NGOs and everything? Or
Not at all. There are some sources, but you need really a lot of time to find out which sources are financing which project. And at the end, you cannot see the agreements between the NGOs and the European Union institutions. And in comparison to this, in Hungary, everybody has the right to get even a look at the agreement between a Hungarian government and a person, a company, or even a civic organization. So the transparency in Hungary is currently much bigger than in Brussels.
So if the European Union says there's a problem with rule of law in Hungary, then what's the problem then? How do they come up with what do they come up with
that,
then?
that they would like to maintain the current situation that the NGOs they are financing or their American liberal friends are financing do not get any transparency. But I try to explain why Hungary is focusing so much as a sovereign country on the transparency of these NGOs, and I can understand that those organizations which are enjoying the current situation are very upset, and they try to get lobby from Brussels and pressure on the Hungarian government to not to have a change in the Hungarian law. But I try to explain why it is important to get the same level of transparency for the politically active NGOs as it is the case in the Hungarian government or in the case of the Hungarian parties, political parties.
Now that in America, Trump has gone after US aid and clamped down on some NGOs in the sense that it was all untransparent. Have you been in contact or have you been studying everything that's coming out of the US towards Hungary, towards Europe?
I think Mr. Trump is doing the same as Mr. Orban in Hungary, getting more transparency and to and to stop financing NGOs which are politically motivated and which fought against Mr. Trump. Orban is doing something similar, but I wouldn't say that Trump would be better in this case than Mr. Orban. I think Mr. Trump could learn more from Mr. Orban because he has been on office for 15 years and he suffered a lot from these allegedly civic organizations which are in reality politically active NGOs.
I meant now that the Americans are opening the doors of what happened in the past.
Yeah, it's very good.
Including the famous case where the opposition in the elections in Hungary was supported by the Democratic Party. Do you have more view on what happened in the past now?
There is a young man in charge of making contact with the US government, with the new US government to get information. I think we are still waiting on the final report of the US government. There are a lot of information, but the final report did not arrive still, which could summarize what exactly and documented happened.
We also see that certain organizations that used to be entirely funded by the US now are being entirely funded by Brussels. What's your view on that?
Actually, this is the case. What is happening? We talked about a lot that the new center of the liberal empire is Brussels because they had to leave Washington, and these are only the first steps. But I am pretty sure that it will continue, and in 1 or 2 years, Brussels will become the only center of the liberal political movement, intellectuals, and political activism.